Hi, my name is Pastor Philip, and we are doing a study in the Gospel of John. And we're just kind of going through the Bible and looking at different stories related to Jesus that come out of the Gospel of John. And today we want to look at John chapter 2. And now we had just watched Jesus kind of start his ministry. He just got baptized by John the Baptist. John the Baptist said incredible things about him, and he's called some of the disciples to him. But as of yet, even though we know Jesus will do incredible things, he's yet to do a public miracle. He's not done any that we're aware of up to this point. This is just literally coming right after John has baptized him and he's called some of his disciples out of Galilee. And we pick it up now in John chapter 2 and verse 1. So on the third day, a wedding took place in Cana of Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding as well. Now, we don't know a lot about the background because it's only giving us a few details. But Jesus, he's probably 30 years old about now, real close to that. And he's grew up in Galilee. And so this is an area close by to where he grew up. His mom is probably connected to the family that's getting married. And Jesus now, he is the oldest of a bunch of other children. We don't know exactly how many. We know that he had a brother James and some other brothers, but we don't know exactly how many brothers and sisters Jesus had. But we know he was the oldest of these children and of this family. And now his mom is like there at this wedding. And this is an interesting interaction that we're going to see with Jesus. So, verse 3, when the wine ran out, Jesus' mother told him, "They don't have any wine." Now, to you and I, that might not be a big deal. But we're not from the Middle East, and we're not part of a large wedding. This is not a small wedding, and this is a large wedding. And, you know, our weddings, like we have a little ceremony that's maybe an hour. We get upset if it's over an hour, hour and a half long. And then we might take a couple of hours break while the wedding party's getting their pictures taken. And then we have a big reception that might last 3, maybe 4 hours. And if it's 5 hours, we're really kind of tired, and some people may well be drunk. And that's the end of the party. But that's not how this worked. This is a 3 or 4 day celebration. People are hanging out with cousins and family members, and oftentimes they had to travel for days to get there. So they enjoyed themselves, and there was festivities and feasting going on the whole time. And so when you run out of wine, like this is back in the day where you didn't have great water, and part of what made sure you were okay with your liquid was you drank alcohol because it was protecting what you had. And so wine was a big part of their culture, a big part of what was going on. And you're hosting a large wedding, and it's like running out of food. Like, really? You're having a wedding party and you don't have food for your guests? That's like terrible. So this is like a shame, and we're talking about an honor-shame culture, and we're bringing a great amount of shame on the wedding party if this actually is going to happen. So the mother goes to Jesus and says, "Hey, they don't have any more wine." And Jesus' response is, "What does this concern of yours have to do with me, woman?" It's one of the questions I'm going to ask God when I get to heaven. Why does he refer to his mother in such a strong tone? Woman? Like, couldn't he have said, "Hey, mom, I'm not sure I have anything to do with this." No. He literally says, "Woman?" I'm still not completely clear why he uses this strong tone back with his mom. But he's currently saying, this has nothing to do with me. Why are you getting me involved? He's asking. Jesus asked, "My hour has not yet come." So he's telling his mom, who's been waiting his whole life. Remember, Jesus was not born of an earthly father. And who would know that more than his mother? An angel visited Mary, told her that God himself would help her conceive to have a baby. And this is who Jesus is. He is literally the Son of God. And Mary's been waiting for 30 years for him to reveal himself as this incredible one. And he's yet to do it. But now he's got baptized by his cousin John. Now he's calling disciples to himself. And I think Mary senses the moment. She recognizes, finally, this is when he's going to present himself to the world. He's going to help people know who he really is. And so there's this interesting counterplay between what Mary's asking and what Jesus says back to her. So, verse 5, watch this. She says to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." This is fantastic. She knows he's going to take care of this, right? She's brought it to his attention. He's going to take care of it. And she just leaves it with him. She doesn't tell him anymore. She walks away. Now, 6 stone water jars had been set there for Jewish purification, each containing 20 or 30 gallons. Now, I'm not sure if you're following the math here, But these large basins of water, they were probably stone and they were carved out, and they were designed for people to wash their hands and make sure they were clean before they walked into the party or to the big house or the courtyard or wherever it was. And there were 6 of these large stone water containers. And they were 20 to 30 gallons each. So let's just go with the 20-gallon point. So if there's 6 of them, there's over 120 gallons of water. Okay, that's a lot of water, okay, in these 6 containers. So, verse 7, fill the jars with water, Jesus told them. So now these large containers, which are designed to wash people's hands and whatever, I guess they emptied them out, or they had been empty, I'm not sure, but he said to them, go fill them up with water. So the servants ran out, brought water maybe from the river or a well, and they filled up these containers. And then he said to them, now draw some water out and take it to the head waiter. And they did. And when the head waiter tasted the water after it had become wine, he did not know where it came from. So here's this guy. He's the head of the ceremony. He's responsible for all of the logistics and the food for the day and for the week. And he's probably not aware yet that they've run out of wine. Somehow that's been told to the underservants. And now one of the helpers comes over with this cup of wine and he just hands it to him. So in verse 9, he did not know where it had come from, and though the servants who drew the water knew, so he called the groom. And this is the guy who's responsible for everything. He says, he told him, hey, everyone sets out the fine wine first, and then after people are drunk, the inferior. But you have kept the fine wine until now. This is incredible. What he's saying is usually the first day of the party, you bring out the good stuff, but when you get to day 2 and 3, out comes the vinegar. And people are they're so drunk and hammered, they don't even know what they're drinking and they're happy with it. But you have actually given the very best wine at the end of the party. He couldn't believe it. Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee. He revealed his glory and his disciples believed in him. This is an incredible story. Think about what's happened here. Mary has kind of pushed Jesus along. Jesus had yet to reveal himself. And now for the first time at this wedding, Jesus makes sure that the host doesn't embarrass himself by not having enough for his guest. And he provides 120 gallons worth of wine instantaneously. They pour the water into the vessels, they pull out some wine and they bring it to the head waiter. The head waiter goes, this is the best wine I've ever had. Now I know it's simple for us to look at this and go, oh, Jesus turned water into wine. But let's just take a second to think about what we just talked about there. How do you make wine? I know that you probably know this, but sometimes we run ahead and we take a miracle and we just dismiss it. But how do you make wine? You've got to grow a vine. It's going to take a while. You've got to grow a lot of vines. In fact, if you're going to make 120 gallons worth of wine, you've got to have a lot of vines. The vine has to mature. The first year the vine grows, it's not going to produce the grapes that you need. After the vine matures, then it has to grow the grapes, and then the grapes have to grow and mature, and then someone has to pick the grapes, and then someone has to squish the grapes, and then the grape juice has to go, and then it has to ferment in order for it to become wine. This is a massive process. 2 or 3 years. They went and got water. They poured it into these large basins, and instantaneously it became perfect wine. That's why it says in verse 11, he revealed his glory and his disciples believed in him. This is who Jesus is. He can turn water into wine.